start.
Judges want to stay there, you know.
But we're gonna just route, so there might be people. There's like, what, 12 minutes? So, they have a cardboard boat race.
Oh, really?
In the pool, that's the Thursday night homecoming week activity.
Really? What is it?
They construct a boat out of cardboard and duct tape, and then they race it in the pool back and forth. It's pretty much whoever can keep it afloat.
Yeah,
It's not very
yeah.
much of a race, it's just a matter of staying afloat.
You do that, that's how you carving them. The regatta, you go across Campus Lake, and half of them don't make it across the lake. But they have fun.
There he is.
Okay, let's party start.
Oh!
I'm here.
Check the fire out the door.
Yeah, we know how this is gonna work.
Oh,
Really?
author Bill, author Joe.
Yeah, well, you're gonna hear about it too.
Franco, how you doing, man? Good to see you. I haven't seen you for a million years.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long while. I saw you at our reunion.
That's right, yeah, we said
3 or 4 years ago.
Yes. 26.
Way to go.
David, how you doing?
Hey, Ray.
Hi, Robin.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
You look good.
Everybody looks pretty good, huh? I just look especially good.
Ray, you're sitting up there in the middle.
Is this red couch meeting anything special?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's me up there. I'm gonna sit here anyway.
You comfortable after a hard day on the combine?
Not too hard, all you do is sit there. Do this. Pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, we have drinks there and beer.
I might have one.
Well, this will be there's cookies up there if you want cookies.
Well, maybe I'll get a cookie. That sounds all right for me. Hi there.
Hasn't changed.
Must be a student, huh?
They're always
Jeez. Hey guys, I should introduce Cullen to you guys properly. Just, I'm gonna embarrass him now, but Cullen is a SICAP. He just graduated a year ago and he's joined the staff of the college, just like me. In fact, he was a biology major,
Wow.
oh, yeah. Like several of us in the room.
I hope you do better in Marshall.
But he actually works with the dean's office on Greek activities, Greek student activities. So it's been incredible to have a guy, besides Rob, right here on staff, that helps us plan these things.
Bill's overstating my role, but.
That's Frank Johnson. Yeah.
She says, I'm just gonna slow you guys down.
And then back and
go out half hour.
Really?
She had that in her head. No,
So it's just coming Saturday, I think. And he already sent me his speech and everything.
Doesn't mean something.
Yeah.
Get
She's trying to get to that stage where
Because
she's not
I'm kind of free this weekend.
thinking straight about reality. When she called me up, I was fully out of the way.
Yep.
My hair is cut. My hair is 2 o'clock.
Terry's not here at the least.
Making it for my haircut. You know, I was trying to combine, people wait and semi drivers.
I met her.
Trying to get it out for the next door. So I called her a little buzz.
I've never met her, and I'm not, just like her, just calling me, I stayed at her on the street.
For one dollar.
She
Yeah.
transfers.
I thought, you can't beat that. I've been trying to tell her for a long time, but that's what you need to do. I don't know. I've never done that before. Let it go, and then, so then she says, well, okay, I'll do it. 1:30, step me up. I
This is
said, that's
scripture
fine.
about our steps.
So about 1:15, Cindy, her daughter, my sister, and she says, I'm here to get you, don't
The
worry.
band must be
And
playing.
she says, well, I forgot all about you were trying to get me, but she said, I called you. Well, Cindy was in the shower. She passed a long time. But, you know, so she gets to that stage where she's very narrow-minded. She just thinks about that hair. You know, pretty good. I did tell Bill about her. She's kind of getting to the stage where she doesn't realize.
Is there a good
everybody
story
else
that goes
is
with
too, you know?
Did you save the child from the Russian train?
Little
I
things.
wish, I just.
But she gets tired.
The story could get better.
She didn't wanna come tonight. She
Is
said,
it
I
fair or-
bet you guys are gonna go out afterwards. I appreciate that. But she said, tell them that if you come by and see me.
More on.
So you can stop clumping around.
That's what we became the legend also.
So thanks for coming tonight.
That's right, they, she told me they were kind of like classmates.
Yeah. Circle format, so I can.
I'm Joe.
I'm Emily. I'm the newspaper.
All right. The Courier. Or
Yep.
yeah, see, we're used to the Oracle. Courier. Got the name down.
Yeah.
Big progress. Yeah, we remember that for an hour.
Yeah, that's
Where's
great.
home for you now?
I lived in Svoboda, Illinois, which is over the border of Wisconsin, Lake County.
Yeah.
So it's about 4 hours. Yeah,
So what's the town?
Lakeville.
Like, oh, yeah.
It's near Burnaby, which is probably the more known area over there.
And your major?
I'm a communication studies teacher.
Figures? Yeah, in which year are you? Okay, almost done.
Yep, July.
So you got some plans as to what you want to do, or?
Right now, I've just been working in like more activities. That's always kind of what I wanted to do, is do things regarding so I have my TV at university, so I'm hoping to like do something with marketing potentially. But
Keep the
we'll
doors
see.
open.
Yep.
Keep the alleys open.
Still
That's when the fun times.
Some of us were biology majors and
Yeah.
being
I
pastors.
had that, that's why I was retired.
Yeah, I actually started here as a biology major, which is funny because
Still working too? Okay, then I'm
you
not.
guys were saying you guys were biology majors, so I'm like, I used to be wrong, but then I switched over. It just wasn't my thing.
Yeah, well, that's what college is for, to find what you want to do. So you got communication as an elective, and that's what you decided to go into, or did you?
Yeah, they made me pick a course freshman year that all the freshmen need to go into, and then after a while, I was kind of realizing that
Just about an hour.
the science isn't really my
Your age is the.
thing. I did the
Nice
first
drive.
3 semesters in it, and I had a really good relationship with you guys know. No, okay. He's been here for a while, so I was like,
Well, we've been out here for a
I'll
while.
tell you a funny story that just
yeah,
happened.
so I had a good relationship with her, and
Saturday
then
night.
around the time when classes were starting to, we were starting to take
My
the
wife,
next semester.
She has
I
this
just
app on
emailed
her phone where she can turn it on and
I'm
see
wondering
where my
if
daughter
you can
has
help me
lunch.
switch over.
It is with her phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like, you definitely have
Do-
to
do you know where they're at?
graduate, so I just think we're
Well,
a
about
little
1
bit.
o'clock in the morning.
Just 'cause they're not track.
Well, it's good, yeah, it's good to find
I was sound asleep.
what you want to do early, so you're not, you can still
About
graduate
1:30,
on
she
time.
wakes up.
Oh, there.
There's problems here. Big problems.
Right.
I can tell. So she told me that she's been watching this app and the cars just driving all around town.
Welcome, good to see you again.
It's 1:30 in the morning, stopping at all the bars. That doesn't sound like fun.
We've been trouble getting some drinks and some
We
cookies.
watched at 2:30 in front of the Peoria. And they said we should do it. So we watched, I mean, drive to Peoria for something. And, the car was, she was probably with her.
Imagine how I
She wouldn't do that, she probably in the car, got her or be killed. Oh, it was awful. And at, I called the police again, and I got a hold of this person, she tried to walk her. I said, "I'll-"
Full flag, 575.
All right, so I said, "Yeah, where are you?" How are you? They went there, but they didn't find out. Lots of morning, I got nothing else to try.
Somebody did.
Yeah, I did.
So we called Uber. And the Uber came about it. And Alejandra, my daughter, accidentally left her telephone in the back seat of the car.
Got everything
Yeah.
I wish I had. I didn't, she looked first and just walked out.
Yeah, I just, one question that This is what
I bet she would drop off. I bet she had her own car.
That's what some people will tell us.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. How are you? Ray Gillen? You are not
Another crazy one.
gold for class of 6.
Class of,
Close enough for me. I'm
Yeah, he still read the book, so.
He must have read the book. You're ahead of me. I read it once, and then I'm going back to read the next one. You did it. Yeah. You did it.
We survived it.
We survived. I think it took 1 day. It was very interesting.
He couldn't wait to see what he did next.
We had the crazy bit.
The young edited version.
well, when you're young, you do crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you feel immortal.
I was 16 years old.
Or if you don't have.
I'm sorry, I started on the state championship of baseball.
It is that what you're saying. I think you do
Good to see you off on campus.
We get together like
Well, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to.
And not trying really hard.
Alright, gentlemen, we're gonna get started.
Come on, come on.
Keep expectations low.
Yeah, there are questions about you that really happened.
Okay.
So it's gonna start out.
Great lunch is all for you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Really appreciate everybody being here tonight for this event, the show. I'm Robin Johnson, and my involvement here is kind of interesting because I didn't graduate with these guys. I graduated from Monmouth in 1981, but I am a member of the SIGA fraternity. I got to know everybody through my brother, Frank, who's an ATO, but he got to be friends with these guys. I remember meeting a lot of these folks at Jim's Donut Shop downtown. They were taking a summer school class together. And then my brother actually allowed me to come in the basement of my parents' house when they were playing cards, smoking cigars and drinking beers for about 5 minutes. But over the years, I've got to know these folks here, and when Joe wrote the book, we reconnected over the summer at the SIGEP reunion. And I read the book and got a chance to interview Joe for the radio show I have on public radio, and it's It's really an outstanding book. I found it a lot more than just about Monmouth or fraternity. It's about friendships. And I think we lose that a lot of times in this day and age. And I think some of the values are timeless and go beyond just, again, the limits of a campus or fraternity. Look at how everybody greeted each other here tonight. And I think in this day and age, we really need that more than ever, that human connection of friendships. This book I can't recommend enough, not because we've all got a connection to it, but the thought now of two friends being dropped off in Alaska without cell phones is pretty incredible. The other stories I don't want to give away too much because it's really good, but
Well, there were 3 of us, and 2 came back.
I like Joe, Brad was just talking about Joe's writing style, and it is good, and remind me, and I don't want to build you up too much, but Hemingway, and the detail of a lot of things, that's what I kept thinking about. But I want to, again, thank everybody for coming and introduce Joe. It's an outstanding book. If you haven't read it, please do. You'll enjoy it. Again, I think
Is it available for purchase tonight?
it is right over here with this gentleman in the corner. You can get one, and I'm sure Joe would describe it.
Absolutely.
Joe Svoboda.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come back to MC, and all I have to say is, if 50 years ago somebody told me I'd be back here to talk about a book I wrote, I'd say, no way, that's possible. Oh God, anything is possible, and so that's why I'm here. And it is about friendships, it's about the college, it's about fraternity and life lessons. Pretty much surviving kind of dumb mistakes that we made and bad decisions we made, and the hand of God, you don't realize always the near misses, but then when I wrote the book, there was more times than I realized. And so, my wife will tell you that I'm still maturing.
She's hoping.
Yeah, so anyway, and I can honestly tell you that I am trying, and hopefully I'll get there eventually. So the book was a pleasure because really writing a memoir is taking you back to that time when it occurred. So times are different at colleges now in terms of drinking or starting, and certainly your clothing is a lot better than our styles were in the 70s. And hair, long, short, we had it then too. But what it is about is a transformation of what we did. And this was all pre-cell phones, electronics. You made friends, made decisions, created your own excitement, adventures. And so it starts out at MC, and I'll read 2 chapters, short chapters in the book to kind of set the stage. So yes, there was beer consumed. Maybe not as much as it might sound, but yes, there was quite a bit consumed. But it really is about connections. So thank you, Robin and Bill, for kind of getting this all going. Because my wife and I live in Washington State, and so coming back to Monmouth, it's nice to have people on the ground to get everything coordinated. So with that, I will start with the first chapter. So make yourself comfortable. There's refreshments, and if anybody wants to leave, I'm not too early. So the first is the chapter titled, When You're Going Through Hell, Keep Going. And this is winter 1973 on the college. And so the fraternity, the Sigma fraternity, is in the old complex, the fraternity complex on Euclid. At the Sigma fraternity, what was mandatory were monthly meetings held on Sunday night. Duration varied, but they always ended by 10, in time for the British absurd comedy television show Monty Python and the Flying Circus, followed by reruns of The Twilight Zone. Meetings were for initiated brothers only. However, the pledges were required to attend one meeting. By observing a meeting, pledges learned the format, purpose, and general business of the fraternity. All pledges attended the February 1973 meeting, which started at 8 p.m. sharp in the main floor living room of the Sigma House. I call this meeting to order. The senior brother who is captain president of Bainbridge. He plus the vice president, secretary, and treasurer were seated behind two tables pushed together at the front of the living room. Siga brothers and pledges, numbering 50 total, lounged on couches, chairs, or floor, filling the room. As always during the meeting, the red exterior doors, a national symbol of fraternalism, were locked. Will the secretary please call roll, the president said. The secretary complied at a rapid pace, but even so, murmuring arose from the assemblage. The gavel descended again, silence reigned. We have a quorum, the president said. Will the secretary please read the minutes of the last meeting? The meeting progressed. A half hour ticked by. The president was talking about the upcoming SIGUP spring formal and whether we should cut back on beer or hard liquor to contain costs. When the front door shook from fierce pounding, the brother designated sergeant at arms sprinted towards the door to shoo off any clueless visitors. But the disturbance escalated. A scuffle ensued, and in stormed two unfamiliar men. A room full of young men stared at them, utter surprise. I demand you leave immediately, the president glared at them. This is a private meeting. We aren't going anywhere, one of the intruders said firmly. The man was in his early 30s, taller than medium, with a buzz crew cut, smartly dressed in tan slacks, with a muscular upper body, straining against the buttons of his brown check sport coat. His companion looked to be of similar age, somewhat shorter, with a strong jaw and short, wavy dark hair. He was wearing neatly pressed trousers and a navy wool topcoat. You cannot waltz in here and interrupt this meeting, our chapter president's voice escalated. The two men ignored him. They stepped in front of the president's table and scanned the room of startled men, still staring with mouths agape. We're here for Raymond E. Gillen. Kukat said, what? What? A buzz of confused murmuring arose. Siga brothers and pledges looked at each other in bewilderment. A senior pre-law brother stood up and exclaimed, this is school property. You have no jurisdiction, and you must leave immediately. One of the brothers who had been sitting cross-legged on the floor jumped to his feet and ran out the door to the college president's house 3 blocks away. Another brother quickly followed. I demand you leave. Our chapter president's voice was even louder now, his glare more intense. We have an arrest warrant for Mr. Gillen. Crew cut flashed a badge of the Monmouth City Police. His companion in the navy topcoat, his eyes narrowed, his lips pressed tight in a thin line, did the same. We were dumbstruck. What had Ray done? All eyes turned to look at him. I'm looking at you, Ray. He was gone. He was here a minute ago. Did he run? What was he accused of? We have a warrant for Mr. Gillen, Crew Cut repeated louder. For a moment, no one moved. Then one brother said, I'm not going to ignore a policeman with a warrant. He pointed behind the couch. Ray's hiding down. Another minute ticked by. No one knew what to do. Siga brothers and pledges seemed frozen. Then Ray slowly rose, glaring at the traitorous brother. Step lively, Crew Cut ordered. Ray, uncomprehending, moved forward on unsteady legs. A few brothers started to chatter at him, telling him to wait for legal representation, or at least for the college president. Ray, numb, seemed not to hear them. He moved to the front of the room as if in a trance. Turn and face the wall. Hands against the wall and spread your legs, Crew Cut snapped. Ray stood there dumbly. Navy topcoat manhandled Ray around the face of the wall and began frisking him, starting with Ray's arms and chest, moving to his trunk and legs. This is not happening, I breathed to Mersh, sitting on the floor halfway back from the front. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The scene before me was unreal. Mersch, eyes wide, mouth open, did not reply. Navy topcoat, standing behind Ray, finished his pat down of Ray's Levi's and gym shoes, then extended his hand around Ray and reached into Ray's front right hand pocket. He withdrew his hand, opened it, and displayed a handful of colorful pills to the stunned men. Ray's a drug dealer? Bill managed to squeak in a whisper to Mersch and me. We were incredulous. How had we missed this character flaw? How had the rush system designed to assess integrity and character fail all of us SIG-ups so spectacularly? And Bill, Mersch, and me especially. Ray was our roommate. A roommate we thought we knew, but clearly did not. Ray and I shared so many interests, but I was questioning my choice of friends. And questioning myself. Is this how Ray could afford a car? Who would suspect a farmer selling drugs? I glanced around. Other brothers were looking at Bill, Mersch, and me with sudden suspicion clouding their expression. Did they think we were dealers too? Mr. Gillen, what do you have to say for yourself? Krupka demanded as Navy topcoat displayed the pills. Do you confess? Seconds ticked by. No response. The room was dead silent. Finally, in a voice barely audible, Ray said, I don't know anything about them. They're not mine. We just removed them from your front pocket. I have a room full of eyewitnesses. Krupka said. Time stopped. Brothers and pledges stood transfixed, mute. You are under arrest. Navy topcoat pulled Ray's arms behind his back and cinched black nylon self-locking handcuffs around his wrist, binding them tight. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. Ray seemed catatonic, incapable of moving. Do you understand the rights I have just read to you? Navy topcoat asked. Mr. Gilling, Krupka boomed. Read this statement confirming your understanding of your rights and that you have been Mirandized. Only a few minutes had passed since the initial hammering on our front door. To us, it seemed an hour. To Ray, an eternity. Ray's hands bound, eyes uncomprehending, still did not speak. Do you understand what is written? Krupka was impatient now, frustration edging his command closer to sarcasm. Ray remained impenetrable. Bill, Mersch, and I grew more agitated. Not only was Ray being arrested, now he was pissing off his jailer. Do you? Krupka said. No response. Eager to get on with it and see Ray incarcerated at the local Huskow, Krupka said, read the card out loud, and thrust the card into Ray's face. Barely audible, head down over the printed statement, Ray mumbled, this is the start of Hell Week. All pledges have 10 minutes to gather their belongings and return to the fraternity house. Krupka screamed, it's the start of Hell Week. Pledges, move your asses. Except for Ray, the rest of us finally comprehended what was happening. It was a magnificent prank, performed to perfection. Only a few brothers know how and when Hell Week starts. Pledges know to keep a suitcase packed and ready in their dorms so when Hell Week starts, they can run to their dorms, grab their suitcases, and move into the fraternity for the week. Each year, a new creative method is deployed. For Ray's class, the SIGA pledge educator had asked two friends who were Monmouth undercover cops to play along. In on the prank was the brother who suggested Ray to hide behind the couch. As was the brother who gave him up. The brother who ran into the college president's house for help was intercepted before he got there. The colored pills, palmed in the detective's hand, appearing as if they originated in Ray's pocket, were various multivitamins and health supplements. The rest of us, fully in the dark, unwittingly added to the drama.
Very good.
So the second takes place, it's called Play Ball, June 1975, Kenai, Alaska. Cousin Steve quickly learned that life with Ray meant even mundane activities quickly spiraled into extraordinary experiences. The day after our midnight moose mistake, Steve, driving his 1970 yellow Ford Maverick muscle car, picked up Ray and me after work, and we headed out for pizza and beers. Finished with our circular fare, we headed towards Fourlands Bar. But en route, craving cigars, we stopped at Larry's Club, a North Kenai watering hole known for cheap beer, loud music, and frequent bar fights. Ray went in to purchase stogies. In the Maverick, in the crowded gravel parking lot, Steve and I waited and waited and waited. Finally, Ray emerged without cigars. You guys gotta come inside. Why? I asked, a sensible question. I was at the bar, waiting to buy the cigars when a man asked if I was a ball player on the Kenai Peninsula Oilers college summer baseball team. For whatever reason, I told him yes. I was an infielder, and then another ball player and a friend were waiting in the car. He said to have you come in. You said, what? I couldn't believe it. Even knowing Ray, I couldn't believe it. We were not getting involved in this. Get in, we're leaving. Steve nodded in agreement, acknowledging the bar's reputation. It's not that simple, Ray looked sheepish. You bought 3 beers for us, and they're on the bar, waiting along with the cigars. Come on, guys, Ray beseeched. We'll spin a little story, drink the beers, and leave. Cold beers. Cold, free beers. Plus cigars. Steve rolled his eyes, but he opened his car door. As the 3 of us walked across the gravel to the light and noise spilling out of the establishment's open door, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were dead men walking. The bar was packed. Immediately, gregarious patrons surrounded us, making it impossible to reach our waiting beers. Weaving a circuitous path through a sea of backslaps, hearty handshakes, and shouts of welcome, we slowly advanced, parting a sea of tipsy baseball fans. Apparently, during Ray's short absence, news of our presence had spread faster than Lou Brock stealing second base. Each step we took into the smoky haze further obscured any escape route, as a barrage of questions assaulted us. Where have you played ball before? What position do you play? Which of you is the other ball player? Steve and Ray pointed to me. We finally made it to the crowded bar where the friendly patrons vacated 3 bar stools, 1, 2, and 3. And Ray and I perched a couple stools apart, and Steve a few seats away. I took a long pull from the cold bottle of Pabst beer as the jukebox played Freddie Fender's rendition of Before the Next Teardrop Falls. I smiled at a well-lubricated patron, firing questions at me. Thanks for the round. We appreciate your generosity, I said, silently thanking my parents for drilling manners into me years before. Praise and thanksgiving were warranted in this situation, since praise can disarm impending trouble, and trouble was warming up in the bullpen. I play outfield, mostly left field. I felt a huge hand land on my right throwing shoulder, almost causing me to spill my drink, but thankfully, no errors were committed. Instead, the mid-order barked, "What's your name?" I turned and faced Paul Bunyan. The guy towered over me, rough stubble over his square jaw. His crew cut was short, his shoulders massive under a plaid flannel shirt. I glanced skyward, making eye contact. Joe Rose, I answered, instantly combining Joe Morgan and Pete Rose, baseball all-stars. I don't recall seeing your name in the lineup yesterday. Paul Bunyan's small, close-set eyes narrowed as he swigged his beer. Clearly, he was bringing his A game. This was turning into a classic pitcher battle. But I was prepared with a lineup full of all-star bullshit. Game on. I faced a 3-2 count and took another drink of my beer, which helped. No, my name wouldn't be on it. I was recently traded from the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. I'm not on the lineup because I pulled a hamstring and I'm rehabbing for a few days. When in doubt, play the injury card. Which garners sympathy and disarms unbelievers. I raised my glass. smiled confidently, and relished another mouthful of free beer. How long could I keep this ruse going before getting tagged out? I glanced at Ray to gauge his performance. He was fully engaged, surrounded by happy customers who were laughing hysterically, apparently at some witticism he just uttered. The jukebox in the background swung into John Denver's "Thank God I'm a Country Boy." Meanwhile, Steve was not too far away from me to overhear when he was telling fans, which his job was to assist with housing, which was certainly true. Certainly, the unsteady, woozy fans turned away from him, directing their entire attention to the real ball players, Ray and me. We hadn't finished the bottles in front of us before another round was on the bar, courtesy of Paul Bunyan, whose actual name turned out to be Angus. The 6'4" baseball wizard kept hovering just over my right shoulder. Buying a round of drinks always guarantees a place at the table. I needed a bigger table. The fans kept lobbing hardball questions at me, and I answered adroitly. My age, build, and baseball knowledge worked in my favor. I played league softball in college, so the jargon and strategy were second nature. Plus, we recently attended an Oilers game, and name-dropping some of the players and their positions added credibility. Ray ran track for Monmouth College, giving him an athlete's physique. I didn't know where he gained his baseball knowledge, and I was not about to inquire. Before we could extract ourselves from our adoring fans, the third round appeared on the bar, followed by more questions and merriment. This game was going into extra innings. The longer we stayed and the more beers we consumed, the higher the probability of getting caught in a rundown and thrown out or punched out, literally and figuratively. A guy pushed in next to me, introducing himself in a shout as Rick. "We really appreciate you guys coming up here and playing every summer," Rick yelled in my ear. "It gives us something to watch since we're so far away from big-time baseball." Rick screamed over the noise. I didn't have an hearing issue, but after tonight, I might. "We enjoy coming up here and playing a game in front of our fans," I answered with equal volume. I looked towards Ray again, hoping he was doing okay. I needn't have to concern myself. Ray was off the bar stool, fluidly demonstrating the motion of fielding a grounder. His mesmerized fans giving him space. I could see his fan base outnumbered mine 2-1. I watched as someone asked for his autograph. As Ray scribbled his nom de plume on a bar napkin, the patrons erupted in a flurry of autograph-seeking, thrusting napkins at him. Everyone eager to procure a signature of a future Major League star. No one asked for my autograph, but a fourth round was now on the bar, so I lifted another bottle and drowned any professional sorrows as Leonard Skinner lit up the jukebox with "Don't Ask Me No Questions." And Paul Bunyan, a.k.a. Angus, bellowed, "Hey, don't you have a curfew before tomorrow's games?" In our direction, we knew it was time to finish the baseball lesson, collect our cigars, and graciously exit before one of us hit into a game-ending triple play.
Yeah.
Noting the cigars, Rick shouted, "Does the coach allow smoking?" Ray, looking serious, fielded the question, gesturing them for the group to come closer so he could whisper to them, "I won't say anything if you won't." His now devoted admirers laughed anew. Sliding off the bar stools, we excused ourselves, thanking them for their generosity. With the Oilers playing a doubleheader the next day, several bar patrons said that they'd be looking for us in the dugout. And they promised to supply us with free drinks at Larry's Club for every home game. As we made our way to the door, Ray waved at the crowd, dispersing smoke. "Thanks, everybody. See you at the old ball game." Ray, Steve, and I made our way to the door and escaped. Back in the Maverick, spinning gravel, as we peeled out of the lot, we made a pact to avoid Larry's Club for the remainder of the summer. So when I wrote the memoir, there's a couple of things, and then we'll have a Q&A session if anybody wants any, but one is the importance of friendships, because no matter what story you tell, always the best stories involve other people. There's nothing that you can relate that anybody can get to if they're not involved. And so the story is the book, it's about friends and various fraternity brothers that were in various escapades. So friendships are extremely critical. Secondly, as I alluded to earlier, is how the hand of God protected all of us in any of these stories, because we got into trouble, even something as simple as going into a bar to get cigars, and could have escalated into something a little bit more difficult. The third is that Monmouth College and the fraternity especially prepared us for life. When you have a fraternity house that you're involved in, it's like running a business. You're handling problems, you're handling money, you're handling, sometimes it's a dysfunctional family, but you get through it, and it prepares you for life. And so I think that's what, part of the story that I got is, in careers and is really the fraternity has helped immeasurably. And then finally for Monmouth College is, I came out of college with a biology degree in '75 through Ray and others that I've met, especially in Alaska, and it's involved in the book. I ended up switching to a geology degree, and I was 3 credits short when I graduated from getting a geology degree. So I came back to Monmouth 6 months after graduation, and lo and behold, the 3 courses I needed were not offered that year. But the professors agreed to teach me as the only student in 2 of them. And then the third, you needed 2 because it was field mapping, and I talked a fraternity brother into being the other student. So we got 3 courses. I was the only one in 2 classes, and then 1 of 2 in the other class. And so I can't thank Monmouth enough because it turned out to be a 38-year career for me. So anyway, those are the points that, I understand the fraternities are different now, Rush, Pledge, all this stuff. So you can look at this and say, God, I'm glad I'm not there back then, but to see Ray, it's priceless. And you can write about it 50 years later, and it's still the same because it is one of those indelible moments that you'll take to the grave. So anyway, thank you for being here, and appreciate your attendance. And anybody have any questions?
When did you start thinking about writing this book? How long ago? Give us a little background. Why did you want to write it? What was the impetus?
Well, in Alaska, when Ray and I were in Alaska, I kept a journal. And I didn't think I'd really do anything with that, so it stayed, all the various moves. So to answer your question directly, one of my friends about 7 years ago was taking a class in memories to memoirs. And we started talking, and he had some experiences in Alaska. That's what he's writing about. And of course, you heard about Alaska.
Yeah.
And so he said, you need to write. And I said, okay, fine, I will. Writing requires discipline, and I didn't have that then. I wrote for maybe a week and stopped. But I kept thinking about the story, thinking about how would I, the outline of it. And when COVID came, and you have all this kind of free time because you can't do anything, I picked it back up and punched out the story in about 3 months. And then it took about 2 years of arduous editing, which was painful for me. That's the worst part about it. But anyway, when you look at photos, that is always the impetus. There's always something that is, so the story kind of has to, again, a build version.
Brings back the memories.
Yeah. So, yeah, just something that stayed there, and I figured finally I can write it. So sometimes I would answer that question. I've been asked that before, and I said, well, I'm just slow. And it took 50 years to write it, but, anyway, that was it.
Thank you.
How do you find a publisher? How do you present your work, and how do they pick you?
Yeah, so thank God for the internet. So what you end up doing is your genre, you research your genre to see who publishes in your genre, because there's science fiction, there's LGBTQ plus, whatever. You just find the ones that are kind of memoir, and male memoir if you can. So I went through hundreds, if not close to 1,000, narrowed down to 20, selected 5, and submitted it to 5, and I had 4 acceptances.
Oh, wow.
And so then what you end up looking at is the contracts that come your way, as well as the timing. there's about 800 to 900 books a day, new books being published every day in the US. If you seek a publisher, they're on what I would say, this would be kind of a short cycle, which is about 1 year. And others were out to 3 years, and I'm thinking about 3 years, I might not be around. So that kind of went into it as well. But yeah, he just narrowed it down. And in fact, the guy that, Dr. Roy Taylor, who got me interested in the first, he's using my publisher now. And so his book will come out next July. So I actually feel more like a resource, which if you asked me 2 years ago, I'd say I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. But you learn, and others have helped me as well, so.
You make sure proceeds for the book.
Oh yeah, and all the proceeds go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. I just know too many people with Parkinson's, and so I'm not making a dime on it, so thank you for that prompt. So yeah, buy the book, enjoy it. It's ones that women can buy for boyfriends, fathers for sons, whatever. It's humorous. It's probably one that sometimes people would say it's kind of what they call a bathroom book. So you can read a chapter, put it down, pick it up a week later, read the next chapter, and it goes that way. And, no matter what happens in the book, it's true. All of it was true, and so the collaboration with the various characters made it important too, because they helped with some sequencing that was not necessarily clear in my mind. They searched for photos, which were included as well, and it made it more complete. So when I was writing, I would feel like they're sitting on my shoulder overlooking what I'm writing. And so other than Ray and Bill, everybody else that was involved just could see the chapters they were involved in. They never saw the complete manuscript till the end. And anyway, it's.
I thought one of the most interesting chapters, I mean, you have adventures in Alaska, Canada, and Key West, but the other one was Missouri. And I saw the word spelunking. You remember that the Tide soccer team got trapped in caves here about 5? That word was there, but you guys were spelunking before it was cool, right?
Well, again, we didn't know what we were doing, and so it sounded like a good idea, and so we wanted, that chapter or series of chapters was set up in spring of '73 after this, when Going Through Hell, keep going, to go to Missouri over spring break. And there was an outfit in Woodstock, Illinois, this is where Bill and I are from, and they had this soup to nuts camping equipment. You can get the kayak canoes, you can get all the dehydrated food, everything else that they had at the time. And they said, well, you need to go to the Current River in Missouri, and then on top of whitewater raft, canoeing, there's caves to explore. So we got into a little bit over our heads in some of a lot of things on that trip. Well, the whole book, anyway.
Yeah.
That's the story there. So, yes, Monkey.
Joe, I was amazed at your memory. I want to know, did you
Who are you?
remember all these names of people, names of lakes, names of whatever? Or did you have to do a lot of research to go back?
Well,
Try to figure that
so Alaska was all in the journal.
out?
And so the Current River, I just knew that's where we went, and No Tellum Lake in Canada, that. And then Bob Steinauer was a fraternity brother and is now a retired dentist. He was in those series of chapters with Ray and I. He provided some background too. But then we found photos of when we went to Canada, and so it was a flying fishing trip. So you put the whole story together because it's Vermilion Bay, Canada's where we flew out of, and so I'd say the memories, for some reason, I can keep minutia stored, and then anyway, yeah.
It's amazing to me.
Well, it was,
I forgot all those things.
yeah. Well, you were there.
That was me. That was me.
Any other questions? Because what I'd like to do, this is going to be kind of different in the sense that if you have no questions for me, I can bring Ray, who obviously is in the story, and Mersh, and then if you have questions, any one of us, and you get a chance to finally, meet some of the people that are in the book. So Ray, Bill, you wanna come up and see if anybody has any questions for you guys, because
Or we could share a story that you left out.
anyway, when you talk to Ray, if you don't know Ray, it will not take you long to understand where some of this stuff comes from, because it just happens kind of spontaneous. It's like spontaneous combustion. You just never know what's going to happen. And the part that Robin was talking about in Missouri is Bill and I are from Woodstock, Illinois, both biology majors. But Bill is extremely analytical. So he doesn't do anything without looking at the whole 100% before he makes a decision. I'm 80-20. I don't care about the 20% so much. Really, I don't know what he is. Anyway, it's that dynamic that you look at and say in a fraternity, that's kind of what you have. You have a mix of all sorts of personalities, but you connect. And here we are 50 years later, and it's really a treat and pleasure for me to be up here, because a lot of times, unfortunately, that not everybody's around when you want to get to writing, or you have a story and they're not there to share with you. But anyway.
Were there any experiences that you left out of the book?
I know
Yes.
it was. I know it was. Yeah, I asked them not to put that in print.
Oh, I read the book twice, so I enjoyed your reading them. I knew it was coming, but I want to hear one not in the book.
Ray, you want a few rebels?
I can think it.
Well,
I don't think.
I'll tell you one thing that I asked Joe to take out when he sent us the manuscript. Back in the old days of SIGAP, and they still do, we love to sing. We were a singing fraternity, and we had dinner together, and we often sang together before we had dinner. But we had some pretty racy songs that we sang. And Joe actually, in one of the chapters, I don't remember which it is, but he's got us sitting around the campfire and me leading in this song. And even included the words of the song. So I asked him to edit out the words, because I thought, I may be looking for a job again, so. I don't want this sitting out on social media.
We still know the words of that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes, we do.
But he did, as Joe circulated the manuscript about a year and a half ago. And I read the whole thing a year and a half ago. And it has been tweaked and edited quite a bit. So you spent quite a bit of time on it. I read it again a couple weeks ago, and it was different.
My wife has heard most of these stories, and the first draft, or my first effort, I think she got to page 12, and she said, "This needs work." I said, "Okay, I understand that." So, yeah, we're still married. And so, yes, it certainly did. But to answer your question directly about Ray, there is one story, and Bob Steiner, or Doc Steiner, our retired dentist that was involved with us and the Canadian fishing part. It was spring of '75, right before I graduated, and we were out at Ray's place overnight with a bottle of tequila. And we're sitting around the fire and drinking tequila, and Ray says, "You guys getting hot?" No, we're not getting hot. And a couple minutes go by. "You guys aren't getting hot?" No. Well, Ray's boot was on fire. So to Doc, he wants to know when that story wasn't in the book, and I said, "Well, that either the second or third book, because there's always stories with Ray, but that was the one he said, "Oh, I just love that story." And I said, "Well, but anyway, yeah, it was on fire, and that's the way to get warm."
I was trying to think of something that I might say, especially to the students that are here. Something that us old farts might say that would be useful to them as they grow into adults or whatever. And I think what came to mind to me was, don't ever short sell people that God puts in your life. I mean, I would have never ever thought that I would be with Ray Gillen and a farmer in Monmouth, Illinois, when I was growing up in suburban Chicago. Now, Joe and I played tennis together at Woodstock High School, so we came down here to Monmouth together. But then we come here and we meet people like Bob Buchholz and Chuck Maliska. The faculty members here had incredible impacts on our life. So my advice is, when you think about and you hear these stories, think about, what if Joe had never met these people? His life would have been completely different. And sometimes God, in his wisdom, brings people into your life that will make an incredible, incredible difference. So watch for those people and then nurture those relationships when they occur.
Very well said. Yeah.
Don't ever short sell.
I would say, cherish those friendships you made here.
Mm.
Our SIGUP class, my pledge class, we've had 15 reunions in the last 25 years, all over the country. We enjoy each other's company. 2 of the wives are Monmouth graduates. We play a mean game of hearts. We golf, go in and shop. We imbibe a little bit. I mean, we love each other. And when we were pledges, the upperclassmen said, you guys need to bond. Well, we bond better than any of those classes. And we just like each other. We enjoy each other's company. We look forward to the reunions. We've been in California and Florida and Connecticut and Arkansas, Colorado, Arizona, Wisconsin. So I would say, make sure you keep those relationships, those friendships fresh. You're gonna be busy after you get out of here, but you wanna keep those friendships alive, because I've made lifelong friends down here, and I'm very fortunate that I have.
Yes. The friends you make during your college years they're potentially some of your best ever, because you're old enough to be discerning about the people that you're hanging around with. People you hung around with in high school, sometimes you weren't that discerning about who your friends were, but by the time you get to be 20, 21, 22 years old, you probably have the opportunity to make some really lifelong friends, so do it. It's great, great help.
Johnny, would you write a second book?
Pardon?
Would you write a second book? That occurred to you?
Yeah, there's certainly enough material for that. Like I said, if you have a passion to write, it's easier. I don't know if I have the passion. It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what I've been told, and I guess I'd say I experienced, is that writing is probably 60% of it. It's the publishing, the marketing, all of that is probably the harder part of the remaining
That's the
40%.
boring part.
That's the 40%, and you really have just a little control over that. The writing you have control over, but then it's finding a publisher, and then it's going through those hoops. And I've looked at enough contracts in business, I can negotiate with the best of them, and some will negotiate, and others will say this is what it is, and it's a terrible deal. Really, the ones that make money and publish, in the book business is the publisher, because they're not really taking the risk, and they're getting their royalties off the top.
I would encourage you to think about it.
My wife realizes how much time it is to do that. And like I said, those I think romance or Stephen King or any of those, in one sense I'd say fiction is easier to write because you're not fact-finding and you're not trying to be grounded in truth. So you can write whatever you want, or historical fiction, take a little bit of truth and spin something. But if you want it kind of true to the core, true to the pictures, true to the time period, and you want people that are obviously still alive to look at it and say, well, that's a bunch of crap.
I don't remember it that way.
Yeah, that's not the way it is at all. Then you have to, change it. And so that's why it's great to write when people are alive who read it. So the answer is, of course, my sisters asked, first of all, where are we in it? And they didn't like the title, but then they read the book, and they agreed with it, and they understand it. But, I'd say from I keep telling them, well, you're being the next one, and it's buying me time. That's all I can say, it's buying me. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say a couple words here, a few words, I guess. I agree with what you said, Bill, about relationships. It really is important in life to, if you do find a friend wherever you're at, you know, stick with it and enjoy it and everything. And I think Joe was, we were friends from day one.
Yeah.
And I often ask myself, well, how come I was, you know, so close with Joe? And I think he and I kind of bounced each other off, our ideas, our feelings, our dreams, et cetera, et cetera.
You're both immature.
We were kind of both about the same level, but, you know, we were both adventurous, some was a little bit crazy, and, you know, it took somebody else to say, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And next thing you know, we were doing these things. And later, yeah, I heard Joe's writing this book, and I thought, what the heck's he doing writing a book? But as I got to reading the book, and now that it's finished and everything, I'm so happy that he wrote this book, because you get to an age where you realize, you know, I'm not going to be here forever, but there's people you love that are going to be after you, and then somebody you don't even know is going to be after you. And it's so better, I think, to have something, a book you open up and you read about that crazy great-grandfather you had, didn't even know, you know. Wow, that guy was that way, huh? And I thought, boy, that's going to be great. The older we get, or the, you know, more history goes by, it's going to mean something. It's a lot more than just born such and such a day, died such and such a day on the tombstone. You can read this book, so thank you, Joe.
You captured the essence of Ray Gillen.
Yeah, what can I say?
Well, they're getting a good idea of who you are now. So.
Yeah, we had a lot of good times. I'm glad we survived, but there were some times when odds are we weren't going to make it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Remember that time we went in the canoe underneath that bridge and got dumped? And oh my goodness. Things like that happen.
You know, the thing about Monmouth is the professors will work with you, and I hope they still do, because they listen to the students. And so if you want to take a class or something, or just talk, they work with you. That's what makes Monmouth so special. And the size of it, some will say, well, that's too damn small of a school, but it's the fact that there are no boundaries. It didn't make a difference if you're Greek or not Greek. It didn't make a difference if you're ATO or SIGEP or whatever. Everybody knew everything. And that is one of the unique aspects of Monmouth, but it's also one where the professors want the best for you. And so even taking the marine biology class down in the Keys is because at that time I wanted to go into marine biology. And Dr. Buchholz put together a class. And that's how they were. And I like to believe they're still that way. That's why you're here. So utilize what's here. And that is not just the classroom, it's what's outside the classroom. And as biology majors, it's always the field trips and this and that. And there's a lot of stories of those too as well. But that's the part that makes it, Monmouth different. It's not, you're not a number in 15 or 20,000 students. You're accepted as.
And occasionally the professor would get in your face about, you can do better.
Oh yeah.
You need to make time for this. This needs to be a priority, and challenged us to step up our game, and that was helpful.
One story just to go along with that, and it's not in the book at all, but senior year biology major, mammalian physiology, Dr. Buchholz, chairman of the department, my advisor. Bill was the lab tech for mammalian physiology. But the SIGEPs were in the finals for the for the soccer intramural championship. And I thought, well, I'm a senior. Do I really want to be in here out there playing soccer? Dr. Buchholz, can I go back to the fraternity? I don't feel well. Oh yeah, you go. So of course I go back to fraternity, and I'm out there playing soccer, which was about right out here in the championship. And we're out there playing, and I look, and here comes Dr. Buchholz right through the crowd, right to the center of the field where I'm standing, I'm thinking, I'm screwed. Because he's my advisor, and here he comes, and he starts chewing me out for lying, and I said, well, I figured my career's over as a student anyway. And I said, well, you know, you weren't gonna let me out, and you know, I just wanted to play soccer. If you told me the truth, you know, I would have let you out. I thought, bullshit, you know, I didn't let me out. And so finally somebody yelled, get the a-hole off the field so he could continue to play, and he finally left. Well, the rest of the story was, one, he was so concerned about me, he went to the fraternity to see how I was doing.
Yeah.
And the fraternity, one of the brothers said, well, he's fine, he went and grabbed a couple of beers and he's out there playing soccer. So once I heard the rest of the story, then I had to eat a little bit of humble pie, and I went over to Dr. Uholtz that night. And we had dinner, and you know, and we became best of friends. We communicated until he died. And so I have a scholarship in his name because of our relationship. But that's the growth. Yes, I screwed up, but he was man enough to accept my apology.
Yeah. And that has happened more than once.
Yeah.
Remember the Key West, or the, what was that key's name, Sugarloaf Key?
Oh, you're on Big Pine Key?
Big Pine Key, yeah.
Yeah, we had all sorts of, anyway, that's, you know, that's mom for you. It was for me anyway. So, anyway, again, thank you everybody. If you have any other questions, but help yourself to refreshments, and we can mingle. If you have questions you feel like asking, you want to buy a book, again, all the things are going, money's being donated for Parkinson's research, and I'll be glad to sign any copies, but thank you all for being here.
And eat those cookies, we
Yeah, we have cookies as well. Pardon? Oh, yeah, thank you. Everything out there for the refreshments too, and so yes, thank you for everybody's help in all of this.
We can't get in.
And thank you enough.
I left my wallet back at the fraternity's party.
Locked up.
All right, race is off.
You can do it, you can do it.
takes a village.
All right.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, I got it.